Many Freedom in Education webinars. Freedom in Education was born to create and promote solutions to the most pressing and destructive issues facing education in America today. Our mission is to promote freedom in learning by equipping parents and teachers to enhance education for the next generation. Tonight, you will hear from two teachers. Our first speaker is going to be Karen Majewski of Union Choice for School Workers. Karen is a special education teacher in Bucks County, PA. She left the Teachers Union in June of 2021 and has been working to provide information and resources to educators and the community regarding the role of teachers union the teachers union plays in education, what educators' rights are when it comes to opting out, and what that process looks like, and what other great alternatives are available to educators. So we're gonna bring on Karen Majewski.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat with everyone. And if anybody's on, feel free to drop a comment. I think, right, that's going. Can they drop a comment as to where they're coming from? Is everyone, if you're coming from Kentucky or any place else. So that'd be cool. So thank you again for having me on, Miranda. So my name is Karen Majewski. I am a special education teacher from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And I've been teaching for, this is my 10th year. And my story kind of started, hi, Matt. So my story started in 2021 in June. And when basically COVID was going on, and in Pennsylvania, there is the PSEA, which is the Pennsylvania State Education Association. And they basically came out with a stance saying that they were speaking on behalf of all of the union members in Pennsylvania, and they were taking the stance that they wanted vaccine mandates for all school workers. And that was the first time in my teaching career that I had ever heard the union take that kind of a stance, especially without actually asking them. I never got asked about it. So, and then the NEA, which is the National Education Association, also came out with some comments about critical race theory in around that time period. And they felt that they wanted critical race theory. They were in favor of critical race theory being in every public school across the nation. And to me at that time, I was like, whoa, like my money, my dues. And I, was going to support these organizations, which are going against, my beliefs. So that was kind of the tipping point for me. And as an educator, I was like, okay, I don't know where to start, because from the very beginning, becoming a teacher, it was you join the union. That's the only option. That's all that there is. It was just what you do. So I embarked on this journey. I found an awesome organization called the Freedom Foundation, and they are a nonprofit national organization that helps any public sector worker leave their union, and it's a resource basically. And so I called them, reached out to them, and they were able to basically inform me about so many things that I had never heard of before from anyone in education or even outside of education, about like my Janus rights, and explain to me what that was, and which I'll talk about in a little bit. But so what my Janus rights were, and that there were alternatives, and that I could leave. And because I was afraid of getting sued, I was afraid of losing my job. I had all these fears surrounding leaving. Mm-hmm. So they were really able to kind of just say, hey, this is actually the legality of things. And this is why you can, if you so choose to do so, to leave and look for alternatives. So after kind of arming myself with that information, I felt like I was confident, like, okay, I can do this. So I ended up leaving the union and I opted out. And I used the Freedom Foundation's, there's lots of different ways that you can opt out, but the way that I chose to do it was through the Freedom Foundation's program called optouttoday.com. and they make it so simple. They basically they give you like a draft resignation letter that you can then certify mail to your union. And then it's got really good wording and legal wording, and it's very to the point. Because I think oftentimes when people want to leave the union, it's like a bad breakup. It's like, no, don't go, stay here, and you don't really mean that, and we love you so much, and you're so awesome, and it kind of pulls at you, and don't be the outsider, and stick together, and all kinds of stuff. So it can be difficult to leave. So by sending the letter, at least in my opinion and my experiences, it was definitely helped make that an easier transition out. So after that, I ended up finding an alternative in the state of Pennsylvania. And in the state of Pennsylvania, we have the Keystone Teachers Association, which it's not a union, it's a teachers association. So because they're totally separate. So like a teachers association, one is like a 503B and the other one's like a 501 something or other. And so they're different. But at the same time, the teachers association provides you with liability insurance. It provides you with representation at the onset of like a work problem. And teachers associations, at least the one that I joined in Pennsylvania and other ones that I've found across the nation, are nonpartisan, and they're independent. So they're not taking money not taking or giving money to any kind of political causes or candidates or anything like that. They basically are just supporting you being an educator or someone working in a school. So, and the dues are so much cheaper. So for example, like I was paying $160 a month to my union. And when I found this other alternative, they were like, oh, it's $39 a month. And I was like, like sign me up. That was like a no brainer for me, on top of the no politics, on top of the protection aspect of it. So basically after I did that, I was just so blown away and empowered with this information. And, I certainly wasn't trying to stand out or make my life harder. It was more so that I just had this like passion to be like, wow, I can't possibly be the only educator or person working in education that didn't know about this stuff. And if I didn't want my dues going to that, I'm sure that there's other people like that, or maybe people have other reasons as to why they might not want to join or might not want to stay in the union. So I felt really called to start something more and to help people learn about this information. So I ended up starting a Facebook page specific to Pennsylvania, and then I ended up starting the website Union Choice for School Workers. So it's been a fun journey. Would you like me? So I can share the website now if you'd like Miranda to chat.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, share your website. This is great information for
and then
I'm sure, I don't think you're the only one out there. I've heard from quite a few teachers that have the same struggles, but your resource is going to be valuable to them.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so just let me know that you can see the screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is the website. And can you still see me too as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is the website. And basically what I wanted to provide was factual information and resources to all school workers regarding their rights and options, and so that you can make your own informed decision. So real quick, just an overview of the website for this is for any school worker. Okay. You don't have to be a teacher. You could be a bus driver. You could be a secretary. You could be a psychologist, a nurse, anyone who is employed by a public school. So what I put here is, now we'll get into the know your rights, right? So on June 28th in 2018, there was the U.S. Supreme Court ruling, Janus versus AFSCME, it's pronounced so. And basically what that ruling was, there was a man named Mark Janus, and he won this Supreme Court ruling. And within that ruling, it basically made it so that you do not have to pay fair share fees as like making it mandatory of employment, so that no longer required to pay union dues as a condition of employment. So with that ruling, anyone in any state across the country, legally, you cannot be forced to join a union and pay union dues because of that 2018 ruling. Prior to the 2018 ruling, that was the case where you needed to pay dues no matter what. So I had no idea about what my Janus rights were. So what I added on my website was this Janus ruling. If you click on that, it will take you to the actual Janus ruling, so you could see the actual document of the Supreme Court ruling. And then I also listed other free legal resources. So because oftentimes you hear a lot of, or I hear a lot of things about how teachers or school workers feel like they are having difficulty leaving the union. People are telling them misinformation or, differing information. Like, yes, you can leave. No, you can't leave. You can only leave at this time. We're still going to take your money, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to put on resources that could, organizations that were really great resources to help people leave the union and support them in doing that if that's something that they wanted to do. So these are also great organizations. Like I had mentioned, Freedom Foundation is what I used. But everyone should check out whatever's best for them. And then for opting out. So basically it says the same thing here. You have to notify your union in writing, basically, that you wish to resign your union membership and cease paying your dues. So that's where you could either use the Freedom Foundation to use the optouttoday.com, or technically, like I'm saying here, there are some ways that you could do it. You could use Opt Out Today, or there's Americans for Fair Treatment, which also do that, or other people will just write your own letter of resignation to the union and certify mail it. Like I said, I always say to certify mail it because they can lose your letter, or they can never get it, or, they can do all kinds of things because they want to take your money, obviously. So I would certify mail it, and if you want to write your own letter, then just make sure that you're being to the point, and that's really a decision that you want to do. And that if someone comes to you, if you write your own letter, the more likely it's going to be that someone's going to come to you, a union rep is going to come and try to talk you out of it. So that is, the ways that you can opt out. And then the other thing is like the politics and the finances of the union. And I had no idea about any of this as well. And it's a really big rabbit hole if you want to start going down it. And it really can blow your mind about where your dues is going. So just in case people don't know, so when you are a union dues paying member, your dues money is going to 3 different places, and you don't have a say in that. So your union dues money is going to your local union, it's going to the state, and it's also going to the NEA. So you don't have an option of that. You have to your money is going to those 3, whether you like it or not. You can't be like, oh no, I just want it to stay local, or oh, I just want it to stay at the state. You can't do that. So your state union and your local union, it's hard to really know where that money is specifically going. I mean, when you have elections coming up, obviously, you have things like state and local unions will endorse candidates most of the time, or all the time, Democrats and things like that. And so you can see where your money is going. Now they have different like PACs and things like that, but union dues are always going to those things as well. And they will tell you all different types of things they like to change the wording where they'll say, well, the dues aren't going directly to this candidate, and they'll use the word directly. So yes, they might not be writing a check to Joe Biden, or they might not be writing a check to, the governor of your state, but they are giving money to different organizations and different foundations that are supporting that candidate directly. So on the website, I also, every year the NEA has to put out an LM2, which is this document that basically breaks down the finances. So I added, this is just from 2022. They made $374 million from dues. And you can see all these things off the LM2. I just kind of try to make it more compartmentalized for the website. But so then I also linked the 2 actual LM2s for 2021 and 2022, and then I'll do it for 2023 when it comes out. And that way it's a big document, but you can really see where money is going and how it's being spent. And the salaries of NEA administrators. So those salaries are really, really high. So Becky Pringle made like $400,000 or $500,000 in 2022, along with like the vice president and everything like that. So this is another reason why union dues are very high, because they're funding the salaries, they're funding the overhead, they're funding so many things. So another thing is the political gifts and grants and all these kinds of things. So they're taking more money. What amazes me is that your dues, the smallest amount of your dues money stays local. The most of your money is going to the state and the NEA. You would think it would be reversed, because at the local level, that's where your contracts are being negotiated and you're getting like that direct impact. So the other thing is the new business items. So every year the NEA has a conference, and they come up with these new business agenda items. And this is really where they say, okay, this year we want to focus on this, and we want to have the agenda items so that these things are pushed. So kind of, it's, like a hierarchy. So there's the NEA, right, on the national level, and they come up with these agenda items, and then the agenda items are then pushed out to the state levels, and the states then push it out into the locals. So if the agenda item is, like, example, one of the agenda items is, we want to have more people of color and queer people on school boards. And it's like, okay, so that's the agenda. So then they push it out to the state, and then the state pushes it out as that's like a priority or something that we're looking to accomplish this year. So if you click on the NEA new business agenda items, you'll see some really, they have things about rallies for abortion. They have things about LGBTQ plus, so much stuff, a lot of social justice basically is what the union has turned into now. They are not a labor union. They are, and they will admittedly say this. So they are a social justice union currently. They're not, they've come very far from being a labor union, which is what it was intended to do. It was meant, labor unions were meant to protect their workers and make sure that they had fair pay, and it was safe environments and things like that. But if you go to the NEA's website now, it takes about 4 seconds to look through it and see that it's not about that anymore. It's really about, social justice, pushing critical race theory, race in general, division, all kinds of things. There's a very small portion that has anything to do with workers at this point. So the last part of the website is alternatives. So many states do have independent associations, such as the Keystone Teachers Association, like we have in Pennsylvania. So what I wanted to do was make like a one-stop shop where if you were like, okay, what's in my state? So as you can see, obviously there's lower cost, liability insurance, legal assistance. So on a national level, there are 3 like big organizations that cover all 50 states. So let's say you're in New Jersey, because New Jersey doesn't have a private association. So the Association of American Educators, Christian Educators Association International, and American Teachers Alliance, those are organizations that if you were teaching or working in Pennsylvania, you could join, and that would be an alternative to the union, where you wouldn't have to pay the dues to those things that you either didn't believe in, or if you felt like the union wasn't supporting you. And then there's the state-specific independent associations. I would personally say that I would suggest joining, if you have a state that has a state-specific one, I would suggest joining one of them over a national one, only because they're going to be more familiar with what's going on in your state, as far as like what laws are being passed, or what things are on the table to be passed, and how that will affect education. And also they're going to be faster in responding and getting to you if you do have a workplace issue. So I then went on to list the states that have, and here's Kentucky. So the Kentucky has the Kentucky Association of Professional Educators. So anyone in Kentucky or Louisiana. So these are all the states that do have those independent associations. And then I just listed resources and things if you wanted to decertify your union, things like that could help you. So I will stop sharing. Am I back? Is the screen?
Yes, you
Okay.
are.
So that's kind of in a nutshell what I've been working on and doing, and just trying to help any school worker or yay. So any school worker or any actually just community member, because taxpayers are funding teachers' salaries, and teachers' salaries are then being monopolized to fund the union and the NEA. So there's a lot to it, but that's kind of like the gist of what I've been doing and trying to help people understand and what the website does. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
That's awesome. You've done a lot of work there, and thank you for being a teacher and standing up for your beliefs and your rights, and other teachers out there as well. Your resource you've created for them is amazing. There's lots. So when if anybody's watching here from Kentucky, if they go to the union alternative that you have on there, they click it, does that take them straight to their website?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So anything that was like highlighted in blue on the whole web page is a live link that will take you right to it. So that way you don't have to like Google it. It'll just take you right to it. It's nice and I try to make it as easy as possible for people. And
Okay.
there's just, it's to be empowered with knowledge and information helps you to combat misinformation, or if you're feeling like you want to leave the union but you're not sure, or you have a lot of fear, or you hear different things. I would say just gaining information, so then that way you feel like you're empowered to make the best decision for yourself, regardless of what that is. And maybe you feel like, hey, I'm just going to stay in the union because I'm not ready to leave, or hey, I want to take some more time, or so and so said it might get better. That's fine, as long as you have all of the information, because oftentimes, like I said, I didn't even know about my Janus rights. Most people don't know about your Janus rights.
I had not heard of that before. I mean, I'm not a teacher, but I have never heard of that. So
right.
until
And so
I met you.
yeah. And so just gaining information that you would never heard before might be like, hey, at least I have this information for if there is a time that I don't want to, I feel like I'm not represented in my contract, or I feel like I had this workplace issue and it didn't go well, or I don't like the leadership in the union, or I keep asking for this and it's not happening, or it's maybe you just can't afford to be in the union and you're like, hey, I just don't get paid enough and they're taking so much money, but yet they're not representing me and that's not right. Or they're just not working for me. Or it's the political things and it's the spending. Maybe you don't agree with those kinds of things. So there's a plethora of reasons why someone might not want to join, and to know that they don't have to, and they can leave whenever they want to. And there's an alternative is empowering, so people can then make the best decision for themselves.
Well, thank you so much, Karen, for everything that you do. I really appreciate you. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I'm sure that we will be hearing more from you. And we're going to have question and answers at the end. We've saved about 30 minutes of our agenda for question and answers. So anybody that has questions, please put them in the chat. We do have somebody monitoring that. And at the end, we will be making sure you get your questions answered. So thank you very much, Karen. I really appreciate your time and everything that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Next, we are going to hear from Randy Adams. He is a former teacher and administrator. In September of 2022, he refused to follow guidelines from KDE instructing him to use student-requested pronouns without parental consent. This resulted in him being suspended from work and engaging in a drawn-out battle for his religious liberty. Despite eventually returning to work, Randy and his wife decided to leave public education altogether and now serve their local Christian school. Randy also works as an independent insurance agent, travel agent, and is the pastor of Ballard Baptist Church. Randy is an active advocate for education freedom, and believes in a higher future where parents, students, and teachers can have more choices. Welcome, Randy. Thank you for being here, Randy. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Sorry my video's not working tonight. It's one of those last minute glitches that throws things off, but I'm here and I'm excited.
Well, we love to have you, and technology is what it is. We can only do so much with it.
Gotcha. So let's see how do I get my slides going here? Okay, I see what's going on. Can you all see my slides? There we are.
Yes.
So yeah, my role tonight is to talk to everybody about how school choice benefits teachers. That's been a topic of conversation the last few years. We've seen this growing debate about creating competition for the public school system. Being an educator for over 10 years, I was a defender of public schools until very recently. Miranda read to you kind of what we went through. Just something came down the pipeline that I just could not agree with my Christian values, is that to use pronouns and hide it from parents. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back for us. We moved our kids into private Christian school. My wife transitioned there full time, and I am actually still a teacher, Miranda. I teach one class there in the mornings. I teach pre-algebra. And so I've lived in both of those environments as a teacher and an administrator. Now I'm living as someone with kids who's been in both environments, who's worked in both environments. I'm a business owner in the community who has a vested interest about the workforce that's coming out. And the goal tonight is to kind of just share with you that we have all this pressure to say, hey, teachers are supposed to feel this way. Karen went through a great job of just showing you guys, kind of making some of those points for me that, there are these very loud voices in education, teachers unions, that are trying to protect status quo. And my role tonight in just a few minutes is to try to get you to maybe think about, should we really keep the system we have, or is it worth allowing change to come in? And by the way, did anybody else go look at those NEA salaries, or was that just me? That was kind of, did anybody else go look at that?
Yeah,
I'm kind of shocked how many pages and pages and pages of that were there. But anyway, I'm getting off track. I just thought that was interesting. But so let's jump in. Let's first talk about educational freedom. I'm not going to define what it is yet. We all know what school choice is. And what I've seen over the last while is this idea that school choice must happen to save kids from the teachers. And that, we all know, that is not accurate. We have many wonderful, great teachers. I've worked with, people that vote on the other side of the aisle from me, that think totally different from me, on religion, that I worked alongside with no issues. Amazing teachers who knew their role was to teach the kids content. And so one thing I push back on is educational freedom is not just for the parents and the students, it's for the teachers as well. Let's just talk about that for a moment. At the bottom, you see a list of things that I have, frustrations that have been leading to the very obvious teacher shortage as we have in our country. All the research is telling us that people that want to paint over the issue of the teacher shortage by just giving a nice, handsome pay raise, they're not really paying attention. They haven't really been in the classroom. What we're seeing that is making teachers frustrated is, number one, extreme disrespect and violence in our public schools. We know. I just want to ask you all to think about, have you had your classroom door swung open at the end of the day and had a colleague walk in and tell you about a kid that went off and cussed him out or threw a chair and they were back in their classroom an hour later? I just want you to think about that. Have you had those conversations in your school? I pray and hope that you haven't. I'm not trying to project how you should feel or what experience, but we see this happening all over the country. The second frustration teachers have is low expectations. We see that the data is coming out now. We have the lowest ACT scores in, I think, 30 years that we saw a report come out in Kentucky. Seems to be that schools are getting dinged on their graduation rates, so we're giving up achievement just to push kids through to a diploma. Corrupted leadership. We've seen all the videos over the last year of parents going to board meetings and pleading, please take pornography out of our libraries. Please make our bathrooms safe again. Please put academic rigor back in. And teachers. We've seen how many jobs have been created in administrative jobs and how those salaries have increased while the teaching positions have remained relatively the same. We've seen all the bukus of money spent on professional development where people fly out and they go to PD seminars somewhere on a beach, and they come back and they've got 20 new ideas, and they're going to make the teachers implement all of them. And teachers are overwhelmed. They're broken down. Teachers are frustrated with the lack of courage and consistency from the administration to deal with all the above issues and not having a voice to change it. The people are feeling like, I've been on site base, I've been on these committees, but I'm just not being listened to. I feel like I'm just there as a placeholder. So those are some of the things that I have found are consistently frustrating teachers. I just want you to think, does any of that resonate with you? Is that maybe why you're here tonight? Don't take my word from it. I've got a few different sources, that things that are, showing that even over pay, discipline, and behavior issues are some of the number one problems we have. 58% of teachers are feeling worried and anxious about their jobs. They're feeling burned out, and they're just flat out feeling overwhelmed. We've got all this pressure to perform for our students and none of the accountability to help them have a structured classroom, to put the discipline back in there. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I'm just showing that there's multiple places we can go and look to that. How this is even old, from 2021, the Charles Butt Foundation, about how many teachers are experiencing high levels of work-related stress, not feeling valued. So I've made my point. And oh, thank you, Deborah. Thank you. Yeah, we'll take care of that later. I'll definitely make sure I get connected with you. But God bless you, Deborah. I've made my point, but really, you all are in the field every day. The point's been made to you that this is a tough environment to be a teacher. So what do we mean by, school choice? I am pretty forward with my views. I believe parents should choose where they want to send their child, and I believe their tax dollars should be routed to the school that they choose. I believe that's the healthiest for the family. I believe that's the absolute best thing, because we know that competition is going to create beautiful things and make even our public schools better. One of the most common ways people go, what does this look like? By the way, I'm not a school choice expert. Okay. I highly advise you to go look at EdChoice and a group called American Federation for Children. They're the experts, but one of the most common mechanisms being used in many other states that are ahead of Kentucky, maybe some of you are in states that are ahead of Kentucky, but is education savings accounts. They establish for parents a publicly funded government authorized savings account. So a pot of money for the parents. There's restrictions on that, but there are uses that they can use that for, going towards the tuition, which is also going to pay the teachers some of the resources they'll need. It can go towards tutoring for their child to get one-on-one help, online education programs. Maybe there's not an in-person program, but they can find some tools online. Therapies for students with special needs, textbooks, instructional materials, and even sometimes savings for college. So I share that with you because EdChoice has a unique statistic at the top. It says a lot of teachers are flat out against this because they've always been trained. This is going to take down our industry. This is going to take down our jobs. The people who push this don't value you as teachers. That's just not true. This says that when teachers are provided with the definition of tax credit scholarships, current public school teachers were twice as likely to favor these new policies, right? Because this is an opportunity for us to have the environments where teachers want to work in, where they want to feel valued in, and where they just want to do a good job. They want to do a really good job and serve their students. This is a way that can happen by empowering the parents. And what kind of a beautiful picture does it paint that parents could choose you? You could be the beacon of hope. Instead of being stuck in a system that's frustrating, you can start a school, or you can work in a school that matches your values, where students are going to thrive. Just want to share this with you. This is some of the research coming out. This is people think we don't have enough research to support whether this works or not. But look at this, especially in places like Florida, where they've been doing this for longer. They've been looking at how does school choice programs impact public schools. Well, listen to this. They've explored how a Florida private school choice program affected public school students' outcomes as those school choice programs matured and got bigger and bigger. And so here's what they found: higher test scores. And that's good. right? The kids they're demonstrating their knowledge at higher levels. They're proving that they've learned the content. That's good. I know there's a big push right now for people to take away the importance of the tests. I understand it's not the end all be all, but I tell people this: if I want to know if my child can read, I'm going to sit them down at the kitchen table and I'm going to have them read to me, aren't I? I'm going to test whether they can do that. So there is a place for the test. And in places with school choice, kids are performing better in the private and the public schools. Not only that, there's lower absenteeism. Kids are coming to school more. There's lower suspension rates. There's better discipline outcomes because we're not trying to fit every type of student into one environment, right? Our children today are going to be being pushed in this huge melting pot. And listen, diversity is wonderful. I love it. It's great. But they're trying to deal with issues that most adults can't deal with, right? As adults, we get to choose to work in places where our values are appreciated, right? As a pastor, I urge my congregation, work in a place that's going to appreciate your Christian values because you don't want to feel like you're not free to be who you are. There's people who agree with that completely, who have totally different alternative lifestyles than I have. They want a place to be free as well. And so we see that students attending public schools with more pre-programmed private school options, the effects are better. Particularly, listen to this, because you always say, well, school choice will be terrible for kids of color and with special needs. The effects were particularly pronounced for lower income students, but affluent students.
Oh, Randy.
It saw growth. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Did I cut out there?
You did for just a second.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
Proof is in the pudding, guys. It's there. We're seeing this happen in other states. And what are these other states? Just to give you a quick rundown: Arkansas, Florida, Indiana, Iowa, Oklahoma, Utah, Arizona, West Virginia are making strides. Texas, there's a big push. I drove through Indiana recently where they have been expanding their voucher programs dramatically. A lot of the churches there, even the smaller ones, are starting schools and academies, right? It's a beautiful thing. We don't have this big, huge environment where kids can get lost. They have a place where they can truly be seen. Guys, I'm experiencing this at the Christian Academy. People always say this thing will only impact rich families. We gave up a lot of money when we left public school. I know teacher pays a consideration. We're making way less money now. And we're spending a lot more money to educate our kids. The cars that come through the car rider line are older. You can see parents are making sacrifices to get their kids into these safer private school settings. This is not just for the rich and affluent. It's for everyone. Some of the biggest supporters for school choice are inner city Black families, right? People in poverty. Some of the most difficult places we're seeing and pushback is actually in rural areas, right? Where the school system's always been the main employer, where the community, that's always been the focal point of the community. We got to start seeing, though, that that's not going to change. It's just your child's going to have a better teacher to student ratio. They're going to be seen. I have this dream, right? That teachers can be like business owners. They can open up schools and they can have these wonderful ideas. And if they can attract parents to believe in their vision, then we're just going to have more opportunities for students. And teachers are going to have more career options to match your values, these better working conditions. We're not going to be channeled into one system. We're going to put common sense back into academia, right? The idea that, one of the things I love about our school, that God created men and women uniquely, beautifully, wonderfully made. And then we have been given a gift of God to live in a free country with the freedom of speech and the ability to critique our leaders. Our money needs to be better stewarded to go towards what it needs to be spent on. More of our money needs to be spent on our own children to ensure that they're learning, not on some of the things that the previous speaker showed us, that these unions are these social causes that are not reflective of the values of the parents sending their kids to school. So I know that I've got a few more. I know I've got about 5 minutes left. As a pastor, I just think about scripture. Man, I've just really just let the word wash over me and thought about before we took our kids out, we felt a stirring for months and months about what our children were experiencing in the schools. And some of the conversations about kids making sexual comments to our children, some of the violence they were seeing. This is at elementary school. All my kids are elementary school age. This is scripture. Do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. I believe that there are great teachers at the school that my children attended, but they were not allowed to deal with bad behavior under the name of trauma-informed care. By feeling sorry for kids who've been through trauma, we were allowing kids to get traumatized at school. And that's a sad thing. It's a very difficult thing. We have got to create more models for kids to get the help that they need. And I believe Choice is going to do that. People are going to open up schools specifically for troubled students, for kids who've been passed through foster care. The experts who know how to deal with that niche, they'll have the opportunity to create and meet that demand, right? This is for all students. Miranda read my bio. I got out of the school system because of the clear evil that was being pushed through our own Department of Education. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Freedom in education gives us the chance to shine a light where our children learn. And I just end on this. I'm a Christian. I know that maybe not everybody on the call tonight is, and absolutely am okay if you're not. I believe in live and let live. For me, I had to have this realization that, I kept saying, I'm a Christian in education. I've got to be a witness there. I've got to be a missionary there. And I realized I'm not a missionary. I'm just a nice guy who's also a Christian. And this hit me in my spirit. How then can they call on the one they have not believed in? How can they believe in the one of whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching the message to them? And so it just allowed me to see that as a parent and a pastor, if I really, really care about helping parents train up their children in the way they should go, as Proverbs 22:6 says, as a Christian, I've got to support school choice. This brings glory and honor to God. And that's the core of who I am as a person. And that's why I believe that Christians and even others on the total opposite end of the spectrum who want to open LGBTQ schools, who want to go a different route. This system empowers the beautiful art of competition for parents to really be able to see the outcomes and to choose for themselves what's best for their children. So I'll end there. Thank you, Miranda. God bless everyone.
Thank you so much, Randy. That was an awesome presentation. We really appreciate your time, and thank you for everything that you went through, and you stood strong and are continuing to spread the Lord's word. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to bring on Beanie Gohagan.
Will unmute myself, and hopefully my dogs don't decide to join the conversation. But, so I feel very humble following both Karen and Randy. They had so much wisdom to share from their experiences, and I've learned so much and look forward to continuing to learn from them, as well as the other teachers that are out there doing this stuff. So, but what I wanted to share about today was the solutions that teachers can actually be a part of. I know I'm a very solution-oriented person. I will listen to people tell me their problems for a certain amount of time, and then I will just have to turn around and say, okay, what are we going to do about it? What do we do? We can't just sit and complain all the time. And I'm also the kind of person where I don't necessarily want someone to swoop in and fix my problems, but I want to be a part of the solution. And I think that there are a lot of teachers out there. I have a lot of teachers who are still in the public school system. And I think that they feel the same thing. They don't want, outsiders coming in and telling them how to fix the problem. They've got enough consultants to do that, right? We don't need any more consultants coming in fixing all the problems. But we want to be able to get the teachers involved in some of the actual solutions that we're not going to necessarily fix the whole public school system, but there are things that can be done and can be done fairly easily with the teachers' help to help, chip away at some of these big issues. So one of our big initiatives is restoring real civics education into the classrooms. And that starts by improving the standards, which will then drive the curriculum. So we have partnered with Civics Alliance, who did the heavy lifting of writing the American Birthright Standards, which are content-rich, very solid standards. They scaffold up every year so that they're constantly building on that core knowledge just over and over again. And again, the focus is on content and not on skills. And the beautiful part about that is content is measurable, right? You can assess whether or not students know the 50 states. It's very difficult to assess whether or not they've developed the skill to analyze the difference between Alaska and Hawaii's climate, right? That's just you're assuming that they even know what climate is at that point. So you have those standards, and we're promoting that, and it's a model set of standards. So if states don't want to adopt the American Birthright Standards, we hope and we will encourage them to at least use those standards when they are drafting or revising their standards in their state. Along with those standards, what we want to be able to do is offer free curriculum to teachers that can use them in their classroom, because we know that much of the material that's been brought in that sort of pushes that particular social agenda has been brought in for free. We have, some of those people behind those agendas have a lot of money, and so they produce this material for free. They get it in the hands of teachers, and then the teacher who is scrambling, looking for a lesson because the curriculum they've been given is very poor and not very meaty, they'll take this and assume that it's just fine to teach, and they teach it. So what we want to do is offer them a robust alternative to that, something that has, clearly aligned with the standards. It's, again, content rich, focuses on the content, not on the skill, so that then that foundation of knowledge will then lead to those skills later on to be able to do that. So where the teachers come in on that is we are in the process of writing some of those lesson plans in the framework, and we need teachers on board to help review and comment on the lesson plans that have already been created, and then eventually to help write the lesson plans to go along with that. We've started with Constitution Week because that seemed to be a pretty important area of focus. Teachers by law are supposed to mention and teach about Constitution Day. They may or may not, because they may or may not have the material to do that. But we want to be able to have that ready for them in 2024 school year and put it in their hands, and then just let them go at it. So if there's any teachers out there that want to participate on that committee, again, it's, you review it on your own time, you leave your comments on the document, and then, if you're interested in helping to write future lesson plans, then they certainly would take the help with that as well. We are coming right behind that with science standards. We will eventually have science standards that will, again, be content rich. They will, go back to sort of the basics of science. We're using tried and true science concepts. We're working with scientists either in the profession or science professors, as well as we need some K-12 teachers to be involved with drafting those standards. It will that will require a little bit more time. There will be committees that you'll meet with on a not frequently, but a regular basis. And so if you're a science teacher, K-12, and you want to be a part of restoring quality science curriculum, then let us know, and we can connect you with those people as well. We also, Freedom in Education does things a little bit different than some of the other nonprofit organizations, in that we do have chapters, but we are sort of leaning heavily on what we call school ambassadors. And those are the people who sort of build the bridge between what we're doing and the schools. And certainly teachers can be school ambassadors. So one of the initiatives that we have, we want to bring logic back into high schools, or into high schools. I don't know if it was ever there, but we want to bring logic into high schools as an elective for 11th and 12th graders. We would love for it to be required, but for now we'll take elective. And we already have the curriculum. It's very easy to implement. It does not require hours and hours of professional development, and it is very inexpensive. And so while we are going to try to reach out to the principals or the school district personnel who are in charge of adopting curriculum, we're hoping that teachers will be interested in doing the same thing and helping us sort of get our foot in the door with that. And then if there's any teachers out there that would be willing to teach this traditional logic, It's, again, very easy to implement. And once you look at the material, you'll say, "Oh, I want to take this class. So what better way to learn it than to teach it?" So if you're interested in being a school ambassador, or if you're just interested in this logic course and want to learn more about that and how to get that in, or maybe you are not a high school teacher, but you have children that are going to be in a high school nearby, and you want to help us be a school ambassador in that way and get that in. Again, we're not asking you to come with torches to your school board meeting or even into your administrator's office. We're asking you to walk into your school district, your school board, or your administrator's office with solutions to some problems. And so we think that will be a non-abrasive way to help you be a part of the solution, and maybe offer something that your administrator has been waiting for, or your school district has been waiting for. And it'll make you feel like you're not just a pawn with the big unions, and then you have this administration, and they all just seem to be ignoring you. And here you have an opportunity to actually make a difference in a very tangible, easy way. So let's see, aside from that, we also have our Good Book Challenge, and we are working fervently right now to reach our goal by the end of 2023. Our goal is to provide wholesome book bundles to 250 schools by the end of 2023. And that's sort of to counter the Rainbow Library. Listen has brought in the Rainbow Library bundles. They have about $28 million at their discrepancy to spend. But we want to provide these for the classroom teachers or for the librarians who are saying, yeah, please fill my bookshelves with wholesome books, these timeless treasures that are going to just nourish the students' hearts and minds. That's what I want in there. And so give us a holler if that's something that you want to come to your classroom, or if you're a librarian, if you want them to come to your library. I have a friend actually who taught in Kentucky, who now is a librarian in Mississippi, in a rural school in Mississippi. And she reached out and said, please send us a bundle. So her school is on the list. So depending on how much we end up getting in donations by the end of 2023, we hope to be able to send a good number of wholesome book bundles to the classrooms as well. And if you happen to be the teacher that's in charge of setting up book fairs, we have book fair vendor alternatives to Scholastic. We would like schools to just completely stop using Scholastic until Scholastic decides that they're interested in providing quality literature to children and have no other agenda behind them. So we are working closely with publishers, vendors, and distributors of good quality, wholesome books. They're not all old books. We have one of our publishers is using contemporary authors who, again, their only agenda is to write good books for children and young adults today. So, so if any of those things interest you, if those are things you want to be a part of, or as a teacher, if you have a solution or a problem that needs a solution, reach out to us, and we will do the best we can to find those solutions out there. Because when we first started this endeavor, we really thought it was pretty dark out there. And what we discovered was this whole network of people and organizations working on solutions, and they're solutions that teachers can apply, can implement, and can promote without putting a target on their back, and without stirring up too much trouble in their schools. Because we know most of you really just want to go to school and be good teachers and go home at the end of the day and enjoy yourself. So I'm not going to take up too much time, because I want to make sure that we leave enough time for questions at the end. But hopefully any of that sounds interesting to you, all will reach out to us. And I forgot to mention, this is an important part, we will be doing a drawing at the end, and we'll be giving a free copy of this book to whoever's name we draw. It's called 7 Myths About Education. And it actually was written in 2013, so it's kind of old, but I just discovered it. And when I started reading it, each chapter, there's 7 chapters, and each chapter is a myth. And the book basically unravels everything I was taught in my education courses. I graduated in 1997, so that tells you when I took those. But basically everything in here. And the woman who wrote this is a teacher, and she started out with the same beliefs and understandings about teaching and education that I did. And that's why she wrote this book, because, basically we were led to believe things that are ineffective, and there's no evidence to support them. So we'll be sending that to one lucky winner at the end of this conference or event, and we'll let you know.
Thanks, Beanie. So I guess it's important to mention also that people can follow us on social media. We have all platforms on social media. Our Good Book Drive is going on, like you mentioned. And our Teacher Coalition. If you're interested in the Teacher Coalition, please reach out to one of us. You can also visit our website, freedomanded.org. And is it which page is it, Beanie? It's not, I'm blanking on what it's called. Sorry.
For which?
For like info, how to get involved. That's what I was looking for. Sorry.
If you go to the Teacher Coalition page, there is a form to fill, or like a thing to fill out if you want to get involved with that.
There's also a whistleblower part to that too. So if you are a teacher and you have stories that you would like to share with us, we keep you very anonymous, and we will help get your story out there. So, okay. So question and answers. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Randy and Karen or Beanie before we end? I'm not seeing any questions come through.
I wanted to just chime in real quick about something that I didn't mention, but I feel like oftentimes I think, and maybe Randy would agree with this, is that teachers and sometimes that you just feel so alone if you're not following along with kind of what the general, like marching in step with how things are going and what the majority of teachers are feeling or seeing, and that they might be okay with something happening in the school, but you're not, but you feel like, well, you're the only one, or it can feel really isolating when you do feel like you're the only one. Oh, Matthew has a question for Karen. Sorry. But so yes, it can feel really alone. So I just want people to know that you're not alone, and that I think that there are many more people that might have that same kind of common interest or common ideas about something than what you actually think. And it can be scary and overwhelming, but I think trying to find those people within your building or in your community or something like that can really help make you feel not so alone. And it's important. But there's a movement happening. So, I will talk to anybody. So if there are any educators out there that feel like they are alone, or that they're just nervous about something, or they hear misinformation, try to find your people, and try to find your people. Okay. Do any of the local unions have a vote or say that could affect anything with the NEA as far as the local teachers? So, Matt, I think what you're asking is basically, so can local unions influence the NEA? I believe that's what your question is. So the answer would be no. So unfortunately, it's kind of the reverse, right? So the NEA is really the head honcho, and then the state is the next, and then the local has like the least amount of say. So, which is actually interesting, because oftentimes you can have a local union. Like, you could love your local union. You could be like, hey, my union's great. They don't put up with this. They don't do that. They represent me well. They are not into all like the social justice stuff. We just stick to education. But so you'd want to stay, you're like, I'm okay with my money going to the local union. The problem is that it doesn't just stay there. So while your local union might be a good local union, your money is still going to your state, and it's still going to the NEA. And I think that's where people have a hard time, because they're like, yeah, but I like my local. So some solutions to that, which what like Beanie was saying, solutions are important. So what you could do is, let's say you like your local union, but you don't want your money going to the state and the NEA. You can always make a anonymous donation to your local union, right? You could always write a check for however much money you want and make a donation to your local union. And that way, because a lot of times local unions will be like, oh, you're a freeloader, right? You're freeloading, which is ridiculous, because it's your right to decide. And even if you're not in the union and you're not paying dues, everything still applies to you. Your contract is still the same, your insurance and all that kind of stuff. Nothing changes. The union is separate than your employer. And a lot of people don't realize that or the union makes it seem like it's all one. So you could write a check and make a donation to your local union. That way, you know that you are still financially supporting the people who you think are working hard for you, and making your contract a good one. And then you're still fulfilled. It kind of makes you feel a little bit better about supporting those people, and you know where your money is going that way. So that's kind of the solution to that. But unfortunately, local unions don't really have a say in the things. They can talk to the state usually. Like a local union could be like, hey, our members really aren't happy with X, Y, and Z and this and that, and the state will be like, okay, we hear you, but I think that also another thing people need to realize is it's so much money. I mean, the money is so much. In 2021, they made $378,000 in 1 year off of dues. It's really about money and power. You see that the NEA met with the presidents. They meet with the Department of Health and all these kinds of things that, like, you're a labor union. Why? They just have so much money and so much pull, and they can put their money into whatever it is that they want. And which it's kind of like a runaway train at this point. And people will also say to me, oh, well, why can't you fix it from the inside, right? Stay in the union. And then you can like what you were talking about, staying at the local union and speaking up and being like a good representative. And that is a great thing to try to do. But the thing is that you could probably talk till you're blue in the face to them, and nothing's going to change on like the scale. You might be able to fix maybe the local, but the larger picture of it is that, like I said, you could talk to your blue in the face. The only thing that really talks is money to these people, because that's what they care about, is your money. So by pulling out of the union, you're stopping that flow of money. One, that helps your conscience if that's something that you don't agree with. And two, it's also slowly but surely slowing the power that they do end up having if you're not agreeing with where that money is going.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So I have a question for Randy. What would your response be to the people that, get on social media, scream at the rooftops that school choice is going to destroy public education?
Yeah, it's a good question. That's what kind of hear that fear mongering going on right now.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I included that study there. You go look for it. It's there. Sharpen your tools, and the information is there. That the parental, I think, support of number of parents in these states where school choice is an option, the approval rating and the satisfaction rating is over 70%. Guys, that's astronomical. It's unbelievable. It's high among all adults, but particularly high among parents who actually have that benefit right now. And so it's just like anything else. If I wanted to, you know what? I know it's 7:33 p.m. I'm really craving a cup of coffee. Just go out. I could, if I had to go, you know what? There's only one place you're allowed to get coffee, and it doesn't matter if you like it or not. That's where you're going to get your coffee from. It's nice to be able to go to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or Black Rifle Company, anywhere I want to go. It's nice to have that choice. And those folks can all do it a little bit differently, and they can all be successful in their own niche. And that's the thing that we're going to see. I'm extremely confident and hopeful, because now that other states are doing it, I'm really hopeful for Kentucky, because the success is going to come. I know it is. I feel it. When you get out of the way, when you tear down bureaucracy and red tape, and you allow people to be creative, and then the amount of passion, think about somebody that has gotten burnt out and just doesn't feel it anymore because they've been overwhelmed. But now they're putting their own name on it, and they're passionate. This product, this experience in the classroom represents me and my love for kids. It's an art form, and it's a science. I love teaching with every fiber of my body and my soul. I love being a teacher, and this allows people to fall in love with it all over again. So, want to answer, the satisfaction is incredibly high where it's already there. The outcomes, the research is proving that it's working, and we already have successful models to follow. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you. Okay. Beanie, you got any questions?
No,
I don't see any more questions coming in. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything that both of you are doing. We really hope to have you guys back again. I want to know more. I want to get to know you all a lot more.
I'm actually thinking, we're creating this in-person this in-person event. I know it's coming because we've got these great teachers, and I think that educators want to hear from other educators. I think that that's really important. So my gears are turning. How we can make this happen for teachers, and they can be encouraged, and
And I think that it'll come too. I think a lot of teachers are starting to really get fed up with what's happening within the systems. So I just hope that they find their courage and can come forward. And I think you guys stepping out is the most important thing, because the more that follow you are going, it's going to happen. I can feel it coming. So I'm excited about that.
And we'll have this, this is recorded, so we'll be able to share this with, anybody who wasn't able to join us tonight. And I think that that's probably going to spur some more questions and probably some future conversations as well. I hope that teachers will reach out with their questions and want to chat again. So
absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We will just end a little bit early, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having both myself and Randy on. Thank you. Speaking for you now, Randy. Thank you.
That's fine. Great. Thank you. Wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thanks. Y'all have a good night.